Hey guys, and welcome to a new vlog. In today's video, I'm so excited because we're going to be doing my Black History Month reading vlog. So, for this video, we're going to be reading, at least trying to read 3 books that I've picked out. I'm very excited about reading all of these books. I have quite a few books that could have fit for this vlog in my TBR, to be honest, but I specifically was really interested in reading these books, and I might swap one of them out, so we'll see how the reading vlog goes. But the first book that I really want to read, and we probably will start the vlog off with, is Sky Full of Elephants. It's a little bit of a shorter book, but I've blabbed about it a million times. This is a story about a biracial girl in a world where all the white people disappear. And she has to figure out what that means for her, but also she's traveling the country with her black father, whom she doesn't really know. And so I'm very excited to read this because, again, it's kind of more of a personal story, close to home kind of vibe. So very excited for this one. And then the next book that I'm reading that I'm very excited about as well is Blood Slaves. I got this from my Twisted Retreat book box last year, and I'm so excited to read this. It sounds really good, werewolfy, revenge-filled. It sounds like it's just right up my alley. And then the final book that we're gonna read that I might switch out, so I'm not 100% sure where I'm at just yet, but we have Parable of the Sower. This is something that a lot of people have been recommending for people to be reading right now, specifically with the climate that is going on in America and the US. So I have picked this one up, and I think that I might read this one. So if I don't read this one, then I might end up reading Kindred, which is also by a Black author, so we're still in the same, and it's the same author. Octavia Butler wrote both of these beautiful books, so I can switch it out. I might switch it out. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not super sold on this one as a book to read right now, and partially because I've been reading some heavy stuff. I'm currently doing a vlog for romance vlog, and I'm reading Wuthering Heights. It has a pretty heavy, dense book on top of it just being a heavy, dense topic. So I don't know if I'm really feeling reading Parable of the Sower right now, but Kindred's not, it's not a better topic either in my opinion. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm not really 100% sure which one I'm gonna go with, but we'll be reading one of these potentially in this video as well. So I hope you're excited. Come and join me for a Black History Month celebration. Also a reminder that Black History is an everyday event, so you can always read Black authors and Black stories anytime. I'm just specifically wanting to curate a video for my taste this month and reading specific books this month for the purposes of content. So without any more blabbing, we're gonna get started, and I'll see y'all with the first book. Alright, so we are going to start our reading vlog off with Sky Full of Elephants. I'm very excited to get into this one. Ooh, Tales of Tales recently talked about reading this in 2025 and how it was one of her top books of 2025, and I am very excited to also find out if this is going to be a top book of 2026 for me. So we're going to start with this one. I have high expectations, which is probably not a good thing jumping into this book, but it is what it is. Also, don't y'all love all the green tones? The green shirt, the green book, the green headphones, the green wall. Can you tell what my favorite color is? Did you say green? You're right. Anyway, I'm very excited for reading this book and to just jump into this world, so let's get into it and let's see what we find out. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I can't wait. Okay. chapter 1 of this book, girl. Okay. I've read one whole chapter of this book. Read, listened to, I'm trying to work, okay? And already I'm shook. The intro was not what I expected. And also the way that the white people in this book just disappear. Trauma. As a biracial child who was raised only by white people, what would I do? If trauma. I'm having trauma. Oh my gosh. As a biracial child, if I lived in this world and half of my family just disappeared, and in a more traumatic way than that, just disappeared, and I was alone. Because that would also mean, if I'm thinking of now time, I would lose all of my family. Like mom, my stepdad, my sister, my aunts, my uncles, my everyone would be gone. I would also lose my husband, and all of his family would be gone. And it would just be me and my child. That is a panic attack I was not expecting to have reading this book. This makes me feel a lot. Oh my god. Okay. Well, the first chapter's done and dusted. Stupid reference. The first chapter is from the perspective of the father, and it appears the second chapter is going to be from the perspective of the girl. Whoo boy. I'm interested to see what her perspective is. And if they show her perspective of what happened, as it was happening to her. 'Cause golly, that's wild. All right, this is a crazy book already. From the perspective of that father, I don't think if any of this I'm about to tell you is a spoiler, but let me just double check. Oh, see, okay, I'm stopping. I'm sorry. I didn't read the synopsis of this. I went based on other people's synopsises of this book, and it does tell you the traumatic part that I was it tells you in the synopsis. But I would encourage you not to read it. Because it's very spoiler filled. It made the first chapter more dramatic for me because I didn't read the synopsis. But then it does talk about in the synopsis as well that the father in the story was in prison. So him being in prison when all of this happened, he was freed from his prison because all of the people who would have been keeping him in prison are no longer there to keep him in prison. Which I think is a wild thing to think about because it's true. The predominant amount of people who run things, especially here in America, are white people. What would happen if all of our leadership and bosses and runners of things, who are all white people and a lot of them white men, were gone? How would we survive? And would we even have the mechanisms and ability to survive? Because would we even have some of the education that we need in the communities that are left? Because we all know that the communities that aren't white are the most underserved. This was a lot more than I expected to get into. And I don't know how I didn't expect all of that, but this is really good. It's been one chapter, y'all. I read one solitary chapter and I'm like, wow, Pulitzer Prize. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we're gonna keep reading. I'll give you my update on what I think after reading chapter 2, and then I'm probably not gonna give any more spoilers from there, but we'll see how it goes. This book is 288 pages, so very short in my opinion, and not super dense, so we'll make it through this pretty quickly. But geez Louise, that's a crazy way to start the story, you know what I'm saying? Okay, chapter 1 was 12 pages. It's 12 pages, and it was impactful. And also hearing about our main character, the dad, whose name is Charlie, hearing about him and his inner dialogue on how he feels, and how he feels kind of like a poser in a way, as that people are going to find out that he used to be in prison and they're going to think of him differently because of what he's doing now post-prison. I think that's very interesting, and how even without white people to make you feel shame and guilt for being something that maybe you're not even, but being something that was societally viewed as a negative, as a bad thing, whether what you did was inherently humongously bad or whether you were falsely accused or any of those things. And to think that like the rest of society, regardless of those people who oppressed you, will still judge you for that thing when majority of those people were potentially also in your position or had someone who was also in your position. It's very interesting. I'm interested to see if we get into any of the world and like what the world may look like now without the white people, and like is there a new society, is there a new hierarchy, is there a new like what is it now? It's very interesting. But at the end of the chapter, the daughter calls him and tells him, I need you to come and get me and take me somewhere down south, and he asks her why and where, and she won't tell him. So I'm very interested to know, like, she makes an offhand comment about, also she's very sassy with him, and I don't know the history of like how they became separated and how they're not like, it seems like they don't have a relationship by any means whatsoever. And so the way that she talks to him is something. Okay, yeah. She makes a comment about there's one place left in the world for people like me. So I'm assuming it's biracial children. So she wants to go to this place. So I'm very interested to see what that is going to look like and what that means for the society and how they're reckoning with the lack of white people. This is a very interesting topic. In an imaginary world and a made-up world, but like also using our context of the world we live in now and what it's like now. This is an interesting premise for sure. So let's get back into reading. Wow. Okay, so chapter 2 is from the perspective of the daughter, Sydney. And Sydney witnessed all of her white family disappear. I'm not going to tell you how they disappear because I think if you don't read the synopsis, it's very crazy. But they go into some detail, not grave detail, but they do go into some detail and try to explain what exactly they do and how it happens and how she tries to stop her family. So it's her mom, her stepdad, and her 2 siblings. And I'm assuming her siblings are half siblings because they are gone also. Very interesting. God, I couldn't imagine trying to stop the situation and then realizing like there's nothing you can do and you're just trying to like now be with them and you can't. That's heavy. This is a lot heavier than I expected it to be. I obviously didn't expect it to be whimsy, but I don't know, I guess I didn't really think that deeply about the premise of it. So we've gone through chapter 2. I'm about to start chapter 3, and I'll update you if there's anything significant that I have to say beyond this, but boy, that's deep and heavy. No pun intended. Okay, update time. This is my favorite spot. I like standing right here and giving you guys my little book updates. I hope you like them. Anyway, update on Sky Full of Elephants. 1, I finished reading Wuthering Heights. If you haven't watched my romance reading vlog, reading romance books, please do so. You'll find the link up here. Really long video. I wasn't expecting it to be a full hour, but y'all had a lot of thoughts about Wuthering Heights. So go watch it, come back. However, because of that, I didn't get super far into Sky Full of Elephants. I honestly could have finished this in a day. It's a very short book, but I had to finish Wuthering Heights. So we're on chapter 12 is basically where I'm getting at. We are here in the book. So far, some interesting things going on. Some very interesting things. Basically, the dad makes it to the daughter, and that's where we're at right now. They've made it to each other, and there's just like shenanigans happening while they're together, and they're going through trying to get where they're trying to go. And so we're just traveling and meeting different types of people through this story. There are 3 groups or individual people that we've met outside of our 2 main characters so far up to chapter 12. One of them being kind of like this nice, homely Black woman who helps out one of the characters. Very kind woman. It seemed suspicious. She seemed a little suspicious at first. I was a little suspicious of her because of the way that she was just behaving. Seemed a little suspicious, but she checked out. And then we also meet a family with once we get to the daughter, and we meet them, and an incident happens, and I was very like, oh my gosh, about the incident. I talked to my husband about me reading this book, and obviously we had our flabbergasted about the idea of all of the white people being gone and how the white people disappear. And obviously my husband is white. So I would lose everyone but my daughter, basically, that I am connected to. I don't have a connection with the Black side of my family. So reading this book, I very much align with, I believe her name's Sydney. Yes, with Sydney. Her and I are very similar in the aspects of like, if this happened to me, I would be in her position, right? However, her response to other Black people and the way that she talks about other Black people and the way that she acts around other Black people is very racism. It's very racism. I would love to know, like, generally speaking, what time era we're looking at with this book, because the way that it's depicted, I'm just kind of confused a little bit. I'm kind of a little bit lost on what time era we're supposed to be in, because some of it reads very like 1950s, 60s Black struggle, and some of it reads very 2000s Black struggle. So it's kind of confusing timeline wise on where we're at, and there is not like a this happened in this year at this time. Like, they don't tell us that. It's just that it happened, right? The way that she's being treated as a biracial child, one, I went through a lot of the things that she went through as far as like how people tease you and how people talk about you and how people treat you being biracial. The Black kids sometimes will pick on you and they'll tell you that you're not Black enough, and the white kids will pick on you because you're not white enough. And so I can relate to some of those kind of like dichotomies of being biracial. However, the way that she internalizes a lot of the things, I can't relate to. Sydney very much sees herself as a white person, even though she's not, and she knows she's not. She very much perceives herself to be white, and it's because of how her parents shame her. Her parents put shame on her, a lot of shame on her, about being Black and like not allowing her to go to certain places, and they don't really like allow her to be out in public with them. They don't really go places. She stays home a lot. She doesn't get to go out very much. She does go to school, but like even at school, she's shunned by her schoolmates and like treated poorly, and she just like is trying to be as close to whiteness as she can, being a biracial person. And like, she talks about a specific moment in this book where there's this new restaurant that's open, and she wants to go to this restaurant, and her mom's like, no, Sydney, we're not doing that. And she's like, Mom, I want to go. And her mom's like, no, we're not going there today. Like, we're not doing that. And she just keeps putting her off and putting her off. So Sydney works a job. She finally gets money, and she's like, I want to go to this place. Like, I have the money and I'm going to go. And so her mom's like, fine, like, we'll go. They go, and the people patronizing, right? Girl, stop trying to be smart. The people who are in this restaurant immediately all turn to her, and all eyes are on her. Like, what is she doing here? And that's her perceived, in like, the way she perceives it is that everyone stops doing everything and they all turn to her and they're all looking at her because what is she doing here? And people are like mumbling under their breath about it. And so it's very uncomfortable for her. And we're learning, like, we jump back and forth between in time for her and like the things she dealt with and where she's at now. And she's talking about like her hair, very specific things about her hair, and how her dad, her stepfather, really liked that she would straighten her hair. He loved it. It looked perfect. It looked pristine. It looked presentable. All of these like language things that are gross and disgusting. about basically wanting her to not show that she's black. Like, cover it up as much as you can. And the best way to do that is to straighten your hair so it's no longer this kinky curly texture that obviously makes you look black, especially around your super white family. Wanting her to blend in as much as possible within their family. It's just like, it was just very like, it's sad, and it's not something that I haven't experienced, but it's something that I haven't experienced with my own family treating me that way. My family and I, like my white family and I, we've had our disagreements and we've had our problems, don't get me wrong. But the parts about like my family telling me that I'm not enough, specifically, let's be more specific, my immediate family, so my mom, dad, sister, never have ever made me feel less than. They've never made me feel like I'm not good enough or that being black is a problem. But extended family has. That has definitely happened. But it wasn't ever to this extent of like these microaggressions that she's getting from her own parents, which is wild to me. It's crazy. But like, she still loves them, and she's othering herself when it comes to her dad and their black experience, and being like, you know, he'll be like, we, us. And she's like, who is this we and who is this us? That's not me. I'm not one of you, basically, is like her internal monologue. And I'm just kind of like, that, it makes me so sad that she sees it that way, because unfortunately, babe, you're more closely related to the black people around you than you are to the white people around you, because one, if you were white, you wouldn't be here. But also, if you weren't black, people wouldn't treat you the way that you are being treated. So like, it is an unfortunate side effect of being a biracial child. Like, unfortunately, the black people are going to be more accepting of you most of the time than the white people will be. That might sound like a hard pill to swallow for some people, and I'm sorry to tell you, but it's the truth sometimes. I think I was very lucky that I had a lot of friends who were either biracial themselves or were a different minority group. And so I grew up with a lot of people and a lot of different types of people around me. I had white friends, I had black friends, I had Asian friends, I had Hispanic friends, I had all kinds of friends, right? So I didn't get sheltered and put into this bubble that unfortunately it seems like Sydney has been put in, where she's just in a white bubble of her life, pretending to be a white person when everyone's like, girl, you're not one of them. She even talks about how she was like talked to by her teacher at school or a janitor at school or a coworker who were black and being like, girl, that'll never be us. That'll never be us. And they're like associating with her and they're connecting with her. And she's like, I don't know why they keep saying this us and we. I'm not one of them. It's wild. It's wild. I'm curious to see how her journey transpires as she goes through this experience. But basically we've learned that my prediction was correct, that she is wanting to go to a place where she believes there are biracial people or white people even still around. So we're going to traverse to that area. The dad's reluctant to take her because it's a not great area anymore. And there's a lot of concern around the area she wants to go to, whether or not what's going on, because there's no communication with that area of the country. And so they don't know if that area is good or bad. And he's trying to explain this to her by talking about an incident that he had on his way to get her, where he met that woman and she talked about her rage and how much rage she had, that she just burnt all the land around her and she set fire to everything around her because she was so upset about it, and because she could, because there was no white people there to stop her from doing it. And then proclaims that the land was her own land. And he's like, if a woman who owned the land was that upset about something, what makes you think the people who are in the South, because that's where she wants to go, are going to have less struggle and they're going to have less trauma that they're dealing with? And so that's kind of where we're at with Sydney. We also learn from the dad, there's an incident that happens with him, and we go through his incident and how that incident transpired. And it's very crazy and very wild. And again, that's one of the parts of the story too that brings me back to that feeling of like, is this the 50s and 60s or is this the 2020s? I'm confused because the time, like, we don't get that time information, but like the jump and the thing that happens. And we do learn Sydney is 19. So what happened to him was 20 years ago. So presuming it's today time, right? This happened in early 2000s, late 90s. That's crazy. That's a crazy story to have happened at that time. Also not impossible. Because unfortunately, what happened to this man happens to people every single day. Very interesting story. There is another incident that I thought was crazy, and I don't really want to talk about them because they're spoilery. So I'm struggling. But there was like 2 incidences that happened with Sydney. And the first incident, I was just kind of like bewildered by. her response to other people that don't look like her. And it was very much like white racism coded. It was very like me against them kind of thing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I was very shocked by it, because that's not how I would respond. In my personal opinion, I would like to believe that I would never respond that way in that situation. The incident involved a child too. So I was just kind of like, girl, it's not even adults. This is a child. It was crazy. And then the second incident that happens to Sydney was also very wild, with this black man who's trying to basically figure out where he fits in society now that all of this has happened to him, and he's not sure where he belongs anymore. And he's having this like internal struggle with himself that we're visually seeing from him. And I was just, it kind of like, oh my goodness, like the repercussions of the white people and what they have done to some people, and how those people live life after that disappearance, and how those things play out, and how brown people have to like move through the world and figure out how to move through the world without these people. Like, it's just, I don't know, y'all. It is very thought-provoking. It definitely makes you think, like, what would life be like if a certain segment of the population was no longer around, or was no longer in power, or no longer had hold over certain people? What would that actually look like? It's just a crazy idea to think about. We do learn too that it's not just black people. Obviously, there are more than just black people in the world. There are also Asian people. So we see Asian characters in the book, which is shocking to Sydney for some reason, because I guess she thinks that Asian people are white. And I guess that she's looking at them as close to whiteness, and like, I don't know, it's just very interesting. Very interesting concept. So we learn a little bit more about what happened to the white people as well. And it seems like because Sydney is biracial, she sensed something was off, but she didn't get the full sense of it like the other white people did. And so she had a different reaction, obviously, and didn't have the same response, but partially. Like, she partially experienced it. Like, half of her died. Very interesting situation. So I'm enjoying this. I think it's really good. I'm going to continue to listen to it. I'm hoping I can finish this today so we can move on to our other books. Otherwise, Sky Full of Elephants. I'll talk to you if I have any more updates. I feel like it sucks that I can't tell you what's happening because I don't want to spoil it, because I do think that people should read this. Even just 12 chapters in, I do think that this has it is very thought-provoking, and it does make you really think about how power and power structures and racism and all of that plays into the world we live in, and how it impacts the world we live in, and what that really looks like. And it makes you really think of it in a fictional way, obviously, but this is very good. This is a very good book, and I'm understanding why a lot of people really like it. So I'm gonna keep reading. I have an update. Sky Full of Elephants. I have finished. I have mixed emotions about this book, to be very honest with you. There's a few things going on in this book that I loved, and a few things that I did not love. It also is making me have certain feelings about the books that I'm reading, and so I'm going to talk about quite a few things in this update. First things first, I've obviously finished the book. I'm going to give this a 3. I know a lot of people read this book and really loved it and really enjoyed it, and it was their cup of tea. Unfortunately, I read it and it stressed me out, and it made me depressed, and I didn't enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I expected a different experience with this book than I got. I expected a different story and I thought that this book was just gonna be us following what happens to the world, specifically Black people, after white people are no longer here, and how their paths change, and how they recognize things in themselves, and how they like make the world over anew, and what that looks like. That's really what I expected this to be. I expected this to be more of an exploration in what Black people can be and where they can go, and how they can flourish in life without the oppression that they have lived with in America. And that's not really exactly what I got. It does talk about some things like that, and it does go through some stuff like that, but it went in a weird, like, I saw someone say like Afrofuturistic space that I'm not a big sci-fi girl in the first place, and I didn't realize that this was going to be more sci-fi than fiction. And it, like, at a certain point, like, the whole story just flips to being mostly sci-fi, and I was like, whoa, hard turn, not what I expected. There is, for a world where there's no white people, it feels like that's very centered around white people, because we're constantly talking about white people and where they went and how it's impacted our lives that they're gone, instead of just being able to move through that. And like yes, I expect there to be some conversation about how the impacts of white people have caused some people grief and anguish and frustration and all of those things, right? I didn't expect it to go on for the entirety of the book. I also, as a biracial person, had a really hard time relating to the biracial girl in this book. She is getting all kinds of praise and love and celebration from the Black people that she has encountered, and they're like worshiping at her feet almost. They're giving her everything, and like I keep seeing her like character teeter-totter, and maybe it's just the idea that she's supposed to be struggling with her black and whiteness, but like, to be very personal, as a biracial girl who struggled with feeling accepted by white people and Black people, to see this girl who, and again, we live different lives and we live different experiences, but we lived similar lives in the same vein. My parents obviously did not like oppress me and make me feel like, you know, I can't, my curly hair is ugly and so I need to straighten out my hair and I need to like make myself mousy so that I'm not like presentable to the world as a brown girl. Like, my parents did not ignore my brownness, right? And her parents did. And so that's something that I can't relate to. But the amount of like hatred that she has for Black people is just wild to me. And I'm just, I don't know, like, I'm not to say that that's not a lived experience that people live, but as a biracial girl living my own experience in the South, like a predominantly white family, no Black family to be seen in my life, I just can't relate to her. I can't relate to like, people are finally accepting her as a brown person in her life, and she's like, I'm not one of you. Like, hard, cold facts every single time. She starts like getting loosey-goosey with it. She's like having this life with these people, and then something triggers her and she, I hate all of you. I'm not like you. I'm nothing like you people. And I'm just like, I don't know. It just felt unrealistic to me because, again, my own lived experience. I just can't relate to it. I find it very, like, the like, magic of it all felt very weird to me, the way that it was described. It felt very, like, woo-woo and hippy-dippy to me, and less, like, finding ancestral power. I feel like the way that it was talked about just felt very, like, I smoke weed, dude. Like, it didn't feel like empowering in the way that I was hoping for. So it just like, it kept missing for me. Like, we would get somewhere and I'd be like, wow. And then it would just go, womp. I wanted more. I wanted more and I didn't get it. And that's the frustration that I had with this book. Another thing I wanted to comment on that this book also brought out for me was, I don't feel like this book was made for Black people. And that might be controversial to say, but it doesn't feel like this was written for Black people. It feels to me very centered on explaining Blackness to people who don't live it. And so it just felt very weird to me. It just feels like it's catering to people who aren't Black. And it brought me to another thought. There's a YouTuber that I've recently found, FD Signifier, and he recently made a video about Tyler Perry. That has nothing to do with what I'm about to talk about, but like in that video, he talks about the like movie tax, if you will, that Black creators have to go through to be able to create for Black people, and how they have to basically phone in slavery and oppression and downtroddenness of Black lives to be able to give us things that celebrate Black lives. So talking about, I'm gonna butcher his name, I think it's Ryan Coogler, something along those lines, the director for Sinners, talking about how he had, Sinners couldn't be here if he hadn't created Fruitville, and like, or Fruitville Station, I can't exactly remember the name of it, but like, we had to see the oppression and downtroddenness of Black people, because Black suffering is the same thing that sells movie tickets. And to be able to get to this space where he could create Sinners and people accept it, and like, we still have to whitewash it in a certain way to like still appease some people. Like, it's Go watch FD Signifier's video if you're interested in that kind of discussion. I'm not like, that's not really my thing to be a commentator on certain stuff like that, but like it brought me to this book and made me think about this book in that way too, that some of the way that this book is written just feels like it's written for people who aren't Black. There are parts that do feel like, oh my gosh, like I feel seen. I did in the beginning when I first started reading this, y'all saw, like I felt so seen, like, oh my gosh, like this would be my life and this is what my life would look like and that would be so crazy and I would be so terrified. But then like it lost me. And I don't know if that's because, I believe it's Cebo. I apologize to this man. I do not know this man. I apologize to this man. I think it's because he isn't biracial. Like, he's a full-on Black man. Beautiful Black man with beautiful locks in his author picture. It didn't feel like this was written with a biracial person's actual experience in mind. Granted, again, obviously I am Black and white, which is exactly what this is focusing on, the Black and white biracial girl. And again, I'm from the South. She was from Wisconsin. She was living in Wisconsin. She wasn't even in the South as a biracial child. And not to say that people in Wisconsin that are biracial can't be oppressed by white people or Black people either. What I am saying is, as someone who's lived in the South as a biracial person where the racism is isming, it didn't feel like I couldn't connect to this. Like I just couldn't connect to this for a lot of that reason. And also the same thing with like having an absent Black father. Like I could relate to some of that, but like the way that this was being done, I couldn't relate to it. And like I did think that the discovery and the walk of understanding why he was absent and where he went and what happened and how that story impacts Sydney's life, I do think that that was like a really like, I think he did a great job telling that story. And I think he did a great job like walking through that and what that pain looks like and what that understanding looks like and how Sydney reconciles that and how he reconciles that for himself. And I think that that whole storyline, I really enjoyed that part because it's real. To me, that is a real thing. That is something that happens to people where, without spoiling it, like injustice is done upon a Black person because a white person said something. That happens all the freaking time. We see it all of the time still in America. I resonated with that part, but like there's just so much in here that I was just like, huh? And like I said, when we get to the whoop-de-doop-de magic woo-woo wah la 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 stuff at the end, and then we don't have like a real ending. It doesn't have like a real solid conclusion to like show us what it becomes. I wish that I had that. I wanted to see what it actually is like. What does the world actually become? What do we actually walk into? So sadly, I wasn't feeling it. Additionally, I don't want to read any more books about Black Negro suffering. I'm so sorry. I don't want to do it. I don't want to read it no more. And it's not because I don't feel it, right? Like, but this is such a real video right now. But living a life and experiencing these things, and especially in America 2026, where brown people all over are being oppressed and deported and put into concentration camps because someone is being prejudiced against them to just look at their skin color and be like, you don't belong here, you're not white. I am living that so intensely. I don't want to read about the oppression of brown people any longer. I want to read things that aren't about the oppression of Black bodies. If that upsets anyone, I'm sorry, that's not my intention, but as a brown body, I don't want to read about us getting beaten down anymore. I'm so tired of reading about it. I want to read something that is good and happy and exciting for brown people. So, with that being said, y'all know these were the other two books on my docket. This is about a woman who gets transported to antebellum South in the past. Yikes. Too heavy. Not interested. And then this is about a slave in 1710 who can't get free and becomes something otherworldly to like get through that. This doesn't sound too terrible to me, but I can't do it right now. I am having a really tough time with my depression today and my stress and my anxiety, and I'm just not feeling it. That book really made me just like, ugh, and turn in on myself, and I don't want that. I want to have a fun time reading Black books. So the unfortunate part is I have 2 other Black authors, but both of these books are heavy topics yet again. We've got Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I ain't reading this. There's just no way. That's not it. Sorry if y'all wanted me to read this. I'm not reading this for this blog. It's not happening. And then Let Us Descend is a reimagining of American slavery as beautifully rendered as it is heart-wrenching. This novel is a journey from the rice fields of Carolinas to the slave markets of New Orleans and into the fearsome heart of Louisiana. No. I'm so sorry. No. I don't want to read about slavery. I don't want to be reading that. And then the other one that I have is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. And this is set in 1972 when workers in Pennsylvania are digging the foundation for a new housing development. They uncover a human skeleton. The dilapidated neighborhood where immigrant Jews and African Americans lived side by side, sharing ambition and sorrow. Yeah. As the novel unfolds, it becomes clear how much the people of Chicken Hill have to struggle to survive at the margins of white Christian America. Sorry, but no. I'm not interested in reading this either. So, what we're gonna move on to is this cutesy patootsy. Amari and the Night Brothers. I forgot that I had this because it's in a hidden section of my bookshelf, but I've had this book for a long time. I have the whole set, and I've wanted to read them because the synopsis idea that I was given about Amari and the Night Brothers and the series as a whole is a Black Harry Potter, basically. And that sounds really good to me. I don't know if that's actually the truth, but I do know that this sounds good to me. Amari Peters has never stopped believing her missing brother is alive, not even when the police told her otherwise or when she got in trouble for standing up to bullies who said he was gone for good. So when she finds a ticking briefcase in his closet containing a nomination for a summer tryout at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, she's sure the secretive organization holds the key to locating her brother. If only she can wrap her head around the idea of magicians, fairies, aliens, and other supernatural creatures all being real. Now she must compete for a spot against kids who've known about magic their whole lives. No matter how hard she tries, Amari can't escape their scrutiny and doubt, especially once her own supernatural enhanced talent is deemed illegal. With an evil magician threatening the supernatural world and her classmates thinking she's an enemy, Amari has never felt more alone, but if she doesn't stick it out and pass the tryouts, she may never find out what happened to Quentin. That sounds like a really good retelling of Harry Potter, but from a Black girl's perspective, and that sounds like fun to me. So, I'm reading this tonight. This is what I'm about to go get into. It's pretty not long. It's pretty not long. I pretty much can get through this, I think, pretty much quickly. I don't know why I'm talking like that. I apologize. It is like 400 pages, but y'all saw the margins. 408 pages, but like, y'all, I can read this. I can do this. So I'm gonna go read Amari and the Night Brothers, and I'm gonna have myself a good little time. And after we finish this, I'll decide if I'm gonna read any of these other books, if I feel like reading any of those other books, and or if we stop just reading only 2 books for this vlog. I wanna read this. Look how good it looks. Sorry, my light. It's dark in here, so I had to put a light on. Hold on. Let me I don't know if y'all can still see very good, but look how, her beautiful, big, beautiful curly hair. All the ranting and raving aside, I hope you'll forgive me for yet again another video where we're diverging from our plans. But sometimes you just gotta pivot, okay? As Olaf says in Frozen, pivot, and that's all right. I watch a lot of Frozen, okay? I have a baby, and she likes it. She likes Frozen, y'all. And that's okay. I love a musical, all right? Anyway, I'm gonna go read. I'm gonna have myself a good old time. I'm gonna make myself a little popcorn. I might make myself a little drink. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna go get my happy little butt in bed because I'm tired. Like I said, it's been a stressful day. All the information about my personal life, I guess, but recently got into therapy, and so with getting into therapy, my therapist recommended that I see a doctor about potentially getting on medication, and so I had that appointment today, and y'all, I don't know why, but I was so stressed. I was so stressed, and I left that appointment with my neck and my shoulders and my back just aching and so tense. I had a headache. I felt like all of my life had been drained from my body. The doctor was amazing. She was a wonderful and amazing, wonderful doctor. I can't even say enough great things about her. having to explain those things to people sometimes and having to like interact socially sometimes too. It stresses me out, makes me very anxious, and I just have like a hard time, which is why I'm a book girl, because I don't have to see people to read books. Goodness. I'm a hermit. I stay in my house. I work from home, so I don't even leave my home like hardly ever. I'm pretty much here 5 days a week, if not 7 full days in a week. I hardly ever leave. I go outside with my daughter to let her go play and stuff like that and to take her to daycare. But other than that, I really just don't be leaving my house. And it's probably not helping. It's probably not helping. It is what it is. So I'm feeling really tired. I'm feeling really wiped. Work today was like stupid and not great, and I did not enjoy that either. Nonsense. Work is always nonsense in my opinion. If you work in corporate America, you know what I'm talking about. And it just felt like nonsense today, and I wasn't having it, and I wasn't enjoying my time. So I just want to cuddle up in my bed, snuggly buggly, in my cozy little clothes that I got on, make myself maybe a hot tea, and just read my book and go to sleep. I'm so tired. So that's what we're gonna do. Thank you guys for joining me for this rant of a video clip. I don't know what this is. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go. I've said it 7 times. I'm out. I'll see y'all with my update on Amari and the Night Brothers. I am on chapter 6 of Amari and the Night Brothers. I am enjoying it. I think this is so cute and fun. I will say that it does give kind of an essence of Harry Potter vibes. A little girl going to a magic school, learning that there's a secret world that she didn't know about because she had to wait till she turned a certain age, like that whole vibe. It's very cute. It is reading very childish. There's a part that I was reading where, semi-spoiler, but it's like in the first chapter, she gets a letter talking about being accepted in this school, right? And then it says it's signed by C. Kretz. And I just thought that was really cute that like it's signed by secrets, but it's supposed to be from adults at a secret bureau where you can only find out about it by super secret means. It's like The letter was so childish and like writing and like the reading style. It was very cute. It's definitely a kid's book written for kids kind of thing, but I really am enjoying it. I think it's really cute. It's fun, it's whimsical, it's very low stakes and very lighthearted. Outside of like her brother's missing, obviously there are stakes to the story, but I very much am enjoying this so far. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'm gonna let y'all go, and I'll give you an update sometime tomorrow on how it's going. So I'll talk to y'all then. All right, an update on Amari and the Night Brothers. I am almost finished. We've only got a few more pages to go. I'm really enjoying this. I think this is so fun. I honestly can't wait until my daughter's older and she can read this, because I think she would really enjoy it. I think that I was talking to my husband about this book and like what I'm feeling about the concepts, and I feel like this is a mishmash book. It reminds me of Harry Potter meets Narnia. It's very reminiscent of Harry Potter in the sense that like we get a letter, we find out we are magical and we had no idea, and everyone hates us for reasons unknown to us, but like we have secret bad guys that we never would have known about that we have to fight. Like that Harry Potter, like the core year one Harry Potter story, definitely reminiscent of that, just with a Black girl who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, instead of a boy who lives in the UK. Also Black, not white, that sort of thing. But it also reminds me of Narnia, because Narnia has all the magical creatures and a secret world that no one else knows about and like all of that kind of thing. So it kind of reminds me of Narnia in that way, because we're not just talking about magic within Amari and the Night Brothers, we're also talking about creatures and other beings that we've never heard of. We have aliens and boogeymen and like all of these other types of creatures that we know of in folklore now, right? But like that's not something that's like super prevalent in Harry Potter. Like I know we have like the siren mermaid things in Harry Potter and the centaurs, but like there's not a whole lot of other creatures in Harry Potter, but there's a lot more in this that, and it kind of just reminds me of that kind of like Harry Potter meets Narnia meets Percy Jackson kind of vibe. I also say Percy Jackson in the sense that like Amari is supposed to be this one and only savior, again similar to Harry Potter, the one and only person who could save their whole world because of something that's super special about her that you find out in this book. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really fun. I'm having a really good time. I am trying to guess who the like super secret person is that's like doing all of these things. There's someone that's behind all of this, and I think I know who it is for obvious things that have been happening thus far, but I'm not 100% sold. So I'm very interested to see who the villain antagonist that's like working against her is supposed to be in this, outside of the obvious people. Also, I will say that this book is a middle grade, I believe is what you would call this, but it's made for 8 to 12-year-olds. This is not meant for adults. This is not an adult book, but it is so fun and it's so easy and simple and lighthearted. I'm having such a great time. So I'm gonna finish reading this tonight. I'm very excited about it. We're almost done. The other book that I'm going to be reading, I believe I'm gonna be reading a book by S.A. Cosby called My Darkest Prayer. It is an audiobook, but it is from my library. Thankfully, this one isn't about slavery, but it's like a mystery thriller. So that sounded really exciting to me. So the synopsis of this is, I handled the bodies. Whether it's working at his cousin's funeral home or tossing around the local riffraff at his favorite bar, Nathan is a man who knows how to handle bodies. A former Marine and sheriff's deputy, Nathan has built a reputation in his small town as the man who can help when all other avenues have been exhausted. When a beloved local minister is found dead, his parishioners ask Nathan to make sure the death isn't swept under the rug. What starts out as an easy payday soon descends into a maze of mayhem filled with wannabe gangsters, vicious crime lords, porn stars, crooked police officers, and a particularly treacherous preacher and his mysterious wife. Nathan must use all his varied skills and some of his wit to navigate the murky waters of small-town corruption, even as dark secrets of his own threaten to come to the surface. It sounds really like mystery, suspense. It seems like a pretty short book too. It's only 9 hours on an audiobook, so I think I can get through that. If not, probably not tonight, but tomorrow morning. I'm going to finish up Amari and the Night Brothers tonight, and then I will start on the S.A. Cosby and potentially finish that in the morning. So I'm very excited that I found a third book that's a little bit shorter and quicker paced, but still a Black author and also a different genre. We've read a Afro sci-fi futuristic something. We've read a middle grade fantasy, and now we're gonna read an adult mystery thriller. So we got a few different variations, a few different varieties, a few different things going on. So I think that's really cool. I'm really excited about it. I know this is like a variation way off of what my original TBR was at the beginning of this video. Sometimes you gotta change it up. Sometimes you gotta switch it up, and that's okay. And I'm trying to remind myself that that's okay. I'm struggle, you guys, with like perfectionism. It's something I really struggle deeply with. I also struggle with gray areas and some other things, and so doing this YouTube thing has really helped me to recognize that sometimes you have to say enough is enough, sometimes it's not going to be perfect, and all of that's okay. What it's more about is the ride and the enjoyment of doing the thing. And so I'm trying to just remind myself that like at the end of the day, the point isn't to just try and cram a bunch of books into one video and hope that you can read 75 books in a month. Like I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. I do want to have more books in this vlog than I typically would, because I really do want to like read a variety of books and talk about a variety of different books by different Black authors, but also reminding myself that I don't have to make it that hard. I can go easy on myself and I can slow down. And honestly, if we don't get through the essay Cosby by tomorrow, then this vlog may not be up on Sunday. It may go up on Monday, and also that's okay. I'm trying to be fluid and trying to let go with the flow and work with what I can and where I can and how I can. All that to say, I'm doing what I want, and I'm trying to make sure I enjoy what I'm doing and I don't make it like a chore, and I don't make it not fun. I think the reason I'm enjoying this round of YouTube, because I have tried to do YouTube many times before. If you look back at some of my old videos, I've tried and I always fall off. I always fail, and it's because I don't know what I want my YouTube to actually focus on. I'm striving for perfection, and I'm trying to be someone else from YouTube that I see, instead of just trying to be myself and trying to do what I can do within what I actually have capacity for. So all that to say, I hope that you're enjoying these videos. I hope that you're enjoying my channel. If you have suggestions for anything that you would want to see, definitely let me know. I work on these videos like as they're coming out. Like some videos I do plan ahead, but most of these are like conceived as I go. I try to think ahead of concepts the month before so that I'm prepared for what that like stack of books are gonna be. Obviously things change, and so like as you've seen with this video, I pivot, but I do want to make sure that I'm also creating content that you guys are somewhat interested in. I am also going to make sure I'm creating content that I'm actually interested in, so there's that. A kind of spoiler thing of what videos I have planned for March. I really want to make a reading sequels vlog, because there are a few books that I really want to read the follow-up book for. Magnolia Park's Daisy Hates Book 2, I really want to read. I really want to read Dungeon Crawler Carl 2. My husband has been reading them, and he is about to be on book 4, I think. He has blown through them. He started reading them this past Sunday, and he's already on book 3 at this point. I'm like, bro, slow down. I want to read them together. So I think to try and catch up with him, I'm gonna try and read book 2 next month in a vlog. And then I also have 2 romance books that I have that are sequels from other books. So The Butcher and Blackbird, the 3rd book, Sparrow and something, I can't even remember what it's called. And then Caught Up, I believe, which is the 2nd book for Lights Out. I really want to read both of those. So I have like 4 books that I really want to read for that video, so I'm gonna try and start on that as soon as I can. I also still have the video from January that I never finished, a FOMO vlog where I read books that are like super hyped from last year that I never read and want to read. And we need to finish reading Will of the Many. I haven't finished that book. I am still only like 16% of the way in that book. I put it down to do other things and I never came back to it. So we gotta get back to that one. I really hope y'all are enjoying my videos, and if you have suggestions or any ideas that you want to see, let me know. I'm happy to see how they fit into my like idea of book reading and bookishness. So anyway, I'm gonna go. I don't want to blab for too long because I want to finish this book tonight. It is already 10 o'clock, so I only have like 2 hours left of reading. I'll see y'all with an update later. So we have finished Amari and the Night Brothers last night. It was really, really good. I'm going to give this a 4.5 star. Not quite 5 stars because it is a kid's book and there's still plot holes that I just like didn't really enjoy. But I did enjoy it for what it was. So like I said, 4.5 stars. I highly recommend you pick this up. If you really liked Harry Potter, I think that this one would be something that you would enjoy, especially if you still like reading Harry Potter. This is just a really good book. It's very cute, but also like higher stakes too, just like Harry Potter, like I said. So highly recommend Amari and the Night Brothers. And then right now I am listening to My Darkest Prayer by S.A. Cosby on Libby. I'm 30% of the way in, so hoping to finish that today. That does mean that this videos might get delayed until tomorrow, just depending on how much I'm able to actually read today. But so far, my thoughts on the book. It is a mystery thriller, so I'm enjoying that aspect of it. There is one thing that I have a pet peeve about that I'm not enjoying about this book, and it's that the main character, every time he sees a woman, just objectifies her. He stands on this like moral high ground that like he's better than other men because he doesn't put women into this like bubble of them just being an object to please you and that sort of thing. And he definitely talks about, you're so cute. I don't know if y'all can see her. She's stacking the book. She set those on display. Those are the books that need to be displayed apparently, and I think that's so cute. Anyway, this book is like, it very much objectifies women. He's constantly talking about a woman bent over and her big bodacious butt, and a woman walks forward with her big double D boobies, and just like, he's very much just objectifying almost every woman he runs into. And so that's like not great in my opinion. I'm not loving hearing that commentary, but he is like very like, I don't know, the character's trying to also walk the like PC line of things where he's like, talks about like this woman, she's in porn, and he's talking about her being in porn and just says like, I heard that you film adult content, or you film content for adults, something to that effect. And she was like, oh, you can just say that I'm a porn star, like that's totally fine, that's what I do. And so he has those moments where he's like walking the PC line of like, yes ma'am, and don't hurt women, and like all of these things, but then like because we're in his inner thoughts, he's butts and boobs all day long. Like that's all he's talking about is butts and boobs and her curvy waist and da-da-da-da-da every time he sees a woman. So that's very interesting. I don't know if that's an S.A. Cosby thing or if that's just this book thing, but that's very interesting to me. Otherwise, as far as the mystery goes, like the synopsis says, we're following, his name is Nathan, the detective, ex-detective, an ex-police officer technically, and he works for a funeral home, and he's basically like a big bouncer kind of guy. Like he's big, muscly, and just like throws people around. He does have a temper, but his temper is saved for people who are doing crappy things in life. So he talks about like when he was younger, he got bullied, and he like tried to just ignore the bully, and at a certain point he couldn't ignore him anymore and he beat him up, right? And he talks about like that kind of aspect of himself, that he just like, he lets things go until it gets personal, and then he can't hold his anger anymore, and he just like Hulk smashes everybody. So I mean, there's that part of it. We're trying to solve a mystery where we pretty much learn from the jump that the police are corrupt, and that the town believes that something sinister is going on. And the reason why we like feel that way is because apparently our main character Nathan, when his dad, I believe it was, that died and was killed by some racist man, they covered it up basically, and the guy never got in trouble and nothing ever happened. And I think that's the catalyst for why he quit working at the police department in his town. So there's just a lot of like this corrupt police force thing going on, and people are hearing that they're trying to rule obvious murder as a suicide. And so he's just trying to like, initially it's just like he was asked to get some information, and once he finds out that the police are in fact being kind of shady, he just continues to like all right, well, I'm here to help. I'm a good guy, and the good guy's got to help, so I'm just gonna help. And so that's kind of the story we're getting. I feel like this kind of reminds me of, I think it's Jack Reacher. I think that's the name of the show. And it's like basically this transient man who is an ex-military, and when he finds suspicious things going on, he just has to like solve the mystery. And that's kind of how this book feels to me. He's an ex-military buff, beat everybody up kind of guy, and when he sees something wrong or someone being wronged, he has to step in. He just can't not. That's where we're at in the book. So far, it's fine. I'm like, it's pretty middle of the road for me as of right now, but I am enjoying the aspect of like just a different type of book that's not about slavery. So it is still heavy racism. So yeah, the racism still is like a thing in the book, and I think that's just going to be a undertone for almost every book, because the same thing happened with Amari and the Night Brothers, right? There was this play on people not liking her because she's poor and black and not white and rich at her schools. And so I think it's the same kind of concept, and that's just, unfortunately, unlike some people want to believe, that is just like the experience of black and brown people in a world where white people are dominating, that racism is still there, whether it's microaggressions or whether it's like straight out racism. So, you know, something you always have to contend with, unfortunately. Like I said, I'm enjoying the book well enough, so I'm going to continue reading it, and then I'll come back when, I think I'm just going to come back when I finish it, unless something interesting happens between now and then, but we'll see. All right, we've done it. The vlog is over. This is the end. I just finished My Darkest Prayer by S.A. Cosby. That was probably the worst S.A. Cosby book that I could have read. I did not enjoy it. It wasn't bad. I'm giving it 3 stars. It was very mid in my opinion, but the part that I was very frustrated with was the stuff I pointed out earlier about the like commentary about women and the way that he was like describing every woman was a bodacious, boobyish person. I think that it might have played into the concept of the book, which is there's a lot of like sex things, and Christianity meets sex and that intersection of purity and sanctity and all of that. Also black culture. So like I understand where he was going and why he did some of the things he did in the book. I just did not personally like it. I did not personally enjoy it. The ending reveal was like, it was a reveal. I didn't expect what we got. I had some assumption, but like didn't get fully the expectation that I had of what the ending was going to be. But it was also just felt kind of like a run-of-the-mill murder mystery kind of book. Lots of deaths. Lots of deaths in the book. So many. And police corruption, and yeah. But other than that, it was just run-of-the-mill murder mystery. I don't know if this is a series, because the way it ended sets it up for more books potentially. But I just wasn't that interested in it. It just didn't really like, yeah. So 3 stars, but I'm glad that I read it, and I am glad that I tried to read another genre of book by a black author, so proud of that. I will continue to see if I can find books by black authors that aren't books that are about slavery, because I just don't want to read a bunch of books about that, to be honest. And I have read books this month. I also read a romance book this month in my 24-hour reading vlog, that I read a fantasy romance book. That's what I will call it anyway. And I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. That was by a black author as well. But I know there are more books that I could read that are probably better recommendations as well. And I know there are quite a few creators who have recommendation lists for like amazing books by black authors. So I'm going to peruse those, and I'm going to fix my collection. I was very disappointed in the collection of books that I have and how almost all of them have to do with some kind of black suffering slavery thing. So I would like to try and find other types of books by black authors to read that are more fun and interesting, entertaining, and less about slavery. And there's no shade to black authors who write books about that. I think there is a place for things like that. I just think, to me and for me, it's played out. Like I've done the whole thing, like I said earlier, and I just don't really want to read those kinds of books anymore. I want to read Black joy. I want to read Black love. I want to read things about Black people thriving and not just about Black people having to take revenge on people for doing them wrong all the time. So that's where I'm at with that. I will say I'm got better plans, hopefully, in the future for my Black History Month vlog. All that being said, I hope you enjoyed this vlog with me. I hope you had a great time with me and getting to see my thoughts on all of these books. If you read any books by Black authors this month or have read any at all that you really enjoyed that you think I would like, please leave the comments below. Let me know what books you would recommend by Black authors. And thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my little bookish community. And I hope you have a great rest of your February and a great week. Bye.